If you were to look out from the bridge of a ship approaching the seventh world, your first instinct wouldn't be fear. It would be a sense of profound, unsettling stillness. In a solar system defined by the violent orange storms of Jupiter or the golden, jagged rings of Saturn, Uranus is an anomaly of minimalism. It is a featureless sphere of pale turquoise. It looks less like a planet and more like a marble dropped into a dark room, smooth, silent, and deceptively calm. But as the distance closes, the geometry starts to feel wrong. In our world, the sun rises and sets with the reliable rhythm of a heartbeat. We live on a planet that stands relatively upright, spinning like a top. But billions of years ago, something, a celestial intruder twice the size of Earth, slammed into Uranus with such staggering force that it didn't just scar the planet. It knocked the world onto its side. Uranus does not spin, it rolls. Imagine a world where the North Pole points directly at the Sun. This single gravitational catastrophe transformed the planet into the most extreme environment in the known reach of the Sun's influence. Because of this tilt, the seasons aren't mere shifts in temperature. They are eras of biological impossibility. On Uranus, summer is not a season. It is a 42-year day. For over 4 decades, the sun hangs frozen in the sky, never dipping below the horizon, bathing the hemisphere in a constant, weak, ultraviolet glare. And then, the planet's slow orbit carries it into the shadow. The sun sets, and it does not return for another 42 years. You are left in a darkness so absolute, so prolonged, that the very concept of tomorrow ceases to exist. A child born at the start of the Uranian night would grow to middle age, live an entire life, and face their twilight years before ever seeing a single sunrise. We often call it a gas giant, but that is a misnomer that hides a much colder reality. Beneath that soft blue veil lies a pressurized cauldron of hot ice, ammonia, and methane. It is an ice giant, a world where the chemistry is so alien that the rain itself might be composed of something we value as a treasure on Earth, falling in the dark where no one will ever see it. As we descend through the upper haze, the silence of the image fades. We begin to realize that the pale blue color isn't a sign of peace. It's a mask. And beneath it, the laws of physics are beginning to warp. To descend into Uranus is to leave the realm of light and enter a world defined by weight. As you sink through the outer layers of the atmosphere, the sun, already a mere pinprick 1.8 billion miles away, simply vanishes. It doesn't set, it is extinguished by the thickening fog of hydrogen and helium. The pale blue fades into a suffocating, bruised indigo, and then, eventually, into a blackness so dense it feels physical. But it's the temperature that strikes first. Uranus holds a chilling title. It is the coldest planet in the solar system. Even though Neptune is further from the Sun, Uranus radiates almost no heat from its interior. It is a world that has gone thermally silent. Scientists are still grappling with why. One theory suggests that the cataclysmic impact that knocked the planet on its side also acted as a cosmic vent, allowing its internal warmth to bleed out into the vacuum billions of years ago. It is a dead engine, drifting through the dark at minus 224 degrees Celsius. However, as you fall deeper, a strange paradox of physics begins to take hold. The further you descend, the more the pressure mounts. In the depths of the Uranian mantle, the weight of an entire world presses down on the atmosphere, crushing gas into liquid, and liquid into a bizarre, slushy state known as superionic ice. This isn't the ice in your freezer. This is a hot, black, metallic substance that flows like a river and conducts electricity like a wire. And then, there is the chemistry of the deep. Deep within this pressurized womb, the methane molecules begin to snap. Under the crushing intensity of thousands of Earth atmospheres, the carbon atoms are squeezed together, crystallizing in the dark. Scientists believe that in the heart of the ice giant, it literally rains diamonds. Imagine a storm where the droplets are solid gems, some the size of marbles, others perhaps as large as boulders, drifting through the superheated slush of the interior like glowing embers. They sink slowly toward the core, a constant, silent bombardment of wealth in a place where wealth has no meaning. It is a world of impossible contradictions, a place that is freezing on the outside yet boiling within, a world that looks like a calm sapphire from a distance, but hides a core of liquid metal and fallen jewels. But the strangest thing about Uranus isn't what's happening inside the planet. It's what's happening to the space around it. Most planets have a magnetic field that acts as a shield, a steady pulse that protects them. Uranus's magnetic field is a chaotic, flickering mess. Because the planet is tilted, its magnetism is lopsided, wobbling and snapping like a broken wire as the planet rolls through the void. As the magnetic lines twist and break, they create dirty auroras, ghostly, fragmented flickers of light that dance over the dark side of the planet. They are the only lights in a 40-year night. And it is under this flickering, broken light that we find the planet's most haunting companions, the moons that shouldn't exist. If Uranus is a lonely exile, its moons are the ghosts that haunt its path. Most planetary systems resemble a clockwork masterpiece, orderly, predictable, and rhythmic. But the Uranian system feels like the aftermath of a car crash. Because the planet was knocked onto its side, its 27 moons don't orbit around the equator like a belt. They loop over the poles like a vertical Ferris wheel, spinning through the dark in a configuration that defies the visual logic of the solar system. Among these satellites, one stands out as a monument to cosmic violence: Miranda. From a distance, Miranda looks like it was broken into 1,000 pieces and then glued back together by a blind creator. It is a Frankenstein's monster of geology. Huge, jagged cliffs, some 10 times deeper than the Grand Canyon, plunge into nothingness. Massive, oval structures called coronae look like giant skid marks across the surface, as if the moon's internal organs were pushed through its skin. One theory suggests that Miranda was struck by a massive object, shattered completely, and then slowly reassembled by gravity into a chaotic, scrambled sphere. If you were to stand on the edge of Verona Rupees, the tallest cliff in the solar system, you would be looking down a vertical drop of 12 miles. Because the gravity is so weak, if you stepped off the edge, it would take you nearly 10 minutes to reach the bottom. You would have time to contemplate the silence, to watch the pale blue ghost of Uranus hanging motionless in the sky, before you finally met the ice below. But the moons aren't just dead rocks. They are players in a delicate, dangerous dance. The inner moons of Uranus are packed so tightly together that they are trapped in a state of gravitational chaos. They pull and tug at one another, their orbits shifting and wobbling in real time. Computer simulations suggest that this system is fundamentally unstable. We aren't looking at a permanent arrangement. We are looking at a snapshot of a slow-motion collision. In the next few million years, a heartbeat in cosmic time, moons like Cressida and Desdemona are predicted to collide, shattering into new rings of dust and debris. This brings us to the rings themselves. Unlike the brilliant, icy halos of Saturn that reflect the sun like a crown of jewels, the rings of Uranus are dark. They are composed of charcoal black material, narrow and soot-colored, as if the planet is surrounded by a veil of ash. They are invisible to all but the most sensitive eyes, a skeletal structure holding the system together. Everything here feels precarious. Everything feels temporary. But as we look past the moons and the rings, back toward the planet itself, we realize we have ignored the most unsettling question of all. In a universe where life seems to take hold in the most extreme cracks of reality, could something, however alien, exist in this sideways world? Or is Uranus truly as dead as it appears? We often search for life in the Goldilocks zone, the warm, sun-drenched patches of the cosmos where water flows and light provides the spark of existence. But Uranus forces us to confront a different kind of possibility. It asks, what happens to life when the light never arrives? In the deep layers of the Uranian atmosphere, beneath the freezing methane clouds, there is a region where the temperature rises and the pressure becomes immense. Here, the water isn't liquid, and it isn't ice. It is a water ammonia ocean, a vast, global sea of hot, dense fluid that serves as the planet's true mantle. In this dark, pressurized soup, the building blocks of organic chemistry are swirling. One theory among astrobiologists is that if life, or something resembling it, were to exist here, it would be unrecognizable to us. It wouldn't rely on photosynthesis. There is no sun to catch. Instead, it would have to feed on the planet's internal chemistry, surviving on the energy released by the crushing pressures and the slow decay of its core. It would be a world of extremophiles on a planetary scale. Organisms that don't just endure the dark, but require it. To them, the vacuum of space or the warmth of Earth would be a lethal desert. But even if the planet is sterile, it holds a different kind of memory. The chemical signature of Uranus is a time capsule. Because it is so cold and so distant, the planet has preserved the raw materials of the early solar system better than almost any other world. The deuterium and hydrogen locked in its clouds are echoes from the very moment the sun was born. To study Uranus is to read the DNA of our own origin story. Yet we know so little. We have only visited this world once. In 1986, Voyager 2 screamed past the planet at 42,000 miles per hour. It captured a few hours of data, took a handful of photos that showed a bland blue ball, and then vanished into the outer dark. For 40 years, we have lived with those grainy, distant memories, assuming the planet was a featureless desert. But recent observations from our most powerful telescopes on Earth and in space have revealed something we missed. As Uranus approaches its equinox, the moment when the sun finally crosses its equator, the quiet planet is waking up. Massive, bright storms the size of continents are erupting through the methane haze. The atmosphere is churning. The sideways world is beginning to breathe, reacting to the shifting light after decades of hibernation. The bland marble is cracking. As the storms rage and the diamond rain falls in the lightless depths, we are forced to realize that our ignorance of this world is a choice. We have left it alone for too long. And in that isolation, Uranus has become a symbol of everything we fear about the universe: the scale, the cold, and the absolute indifference of a world that doesn't need a sun to be alive with energy. But the most haunting realization isn't what we might find there. It's what the planet tells us about our own place in the dark. Standing on the edge of the solar system, Uranus serves as a silent, sapphire mirror. It is a reminder that the universe has no obligation to make sense to us. We live on a planet of balance, of 24-hour cycles and gentle tilts. We are accustomed to a cosmos that feels designed for our eyes. But Uranus, with its sideways spin and its 40-year shadows, is a world that exists on a scale we can barely comprehend. If you were to stay there, floating in the upper deck of that turquoise haze, you would eventually feel a sensation more profound than fear: insignificance. The Earth is a vibrant, noisy speck, screaming with the sounds of billions of lives. Out here, there is only the hum of the magnetosphere and the sound of wind that travels at 500 miles per hour through the methane fog. Uranus doesn't care about our calendars. It doesn't care about our gold or our diamonds. It is a 4-billion-year-old monument to the sheer, beautiful indifference of physics. In the end, the horror of Uranus isn't the cold, or the pressure, or the eternal night. The horror is the realization of how far the light has to travel to reach us, and how easily it can be lost. As we pull away, back toward the inner circle of the sun, the planet shrinks once more into that small, featureless marble. It becomes a ghost again. But we leave with a different understanding. We see that the stillness was an illusion. The silence was a mask. Underneath that calm blue veil, a world is screaming. It is a world of shattered moons and diamond storms, of broken magnetic fields and ancient, frozen secrets. It is a reminder that the dark isn't empty, it is simply waiting to be understood. We are a species that thrives on the sunrise. We build our lives around the promise of a new day. But out there, in the deep Azure Exile, the sun hasn't risen in 20 years. And yet the planet turns. The storms rage. The diamonds fall. Uranus tells us that the universe doesn't need us to be spectacular. It was spectacular long before we arrived, and it will remain so long after our own sun has flickered out. As the seventh world fades into the black, we are left with a single, haunting thought: in the vast, lonely architecture of the cosmos, we are not the masters of the light. We are simply the children of a very lucky star, peering out from our small, warm porch into a neighborhood that is much colder, much stranger, and much more beautiful than we ever dared to imagine. The sapphire tomb remains closed. For now. But the ghosts of the sideways world are still there, rolling through the dark, waiting for us to return.